It's an interesting time. There's a lot of fear in the market right now. Think about inflation, interest rates, food prices, jobs, elections. There's 2 wars going on in the world. All of this can be defined by one word, and that word is chaos. I want you to think about that word. It's going to tie in directly with how I went from being a high school dropout to running a multi-million-dollar company that I didn't start. I could have easily become just another statistic, led a mediocre life, been bitter because I didn't start out with all the opportunities that other people did. But I didn't. And it wasn't because I just made a choice one day and turned my life around. In fact, it happened slowly, over time. Small choices led to bigger choices and bigger decisions that would eventually shape me into the man that I am today. I was a smart kid. I was in advanced placement classes at a young age. I was even a part of a Johns Hopkins study where in 7th grade I took the SATs and I scored high enough to get into college. And I knew I wanted to graduate high school early, so I did all of these things that were necessary for me to graduate. I met the state graduation requirements, but my particular school wouldn't let me graduate unless I was enrolled in 6 classes all the way through my senior year. And I got in an argument with my guidance counselor. I said, I've done everything I need to do to graduate. He said, well, you haven't met our requirement. Okay, but your requirements are above and beyond the state requirements, but I can meet those requirements. I just want to do it with a lighter class load. He said, no, we won't let you do that. I later found out that the school wouldn't be paid for me as a student unless I was considered a full FTE. So this decision that my high school guidance counselor made was based on money. I actually gave my counselor an ultimatum. I said, listen, you can let me do it my way or you can watch me be a statistic. Maybe I should have just, gone with the flow, but I didn't. I left. I got home and I called my mom. My mom is an entrepreneur. She ran a business. I called her at her place of work and I said, Mom, I just dropped out of high school. Like, what kind of kid does that to his mom? Now, I had a plan. I knew what I was going to do in my life. I knew that when I turned 18, I was moving out. Not because I had a bad home life with my mom and the man I call my dad, really my stepfather. We lived a great, normal American life in a suburb of Seattle, and everything was good. But I wanted to move out and be on my own. I was really clear about what I wanted to do with my life. I also knew that I wanted to develop a career, be in business, and someday own my own company like I do today. I was born into a home where my father was both mentally ill and chemically dependent. At 4 years old, my mom told him to leave, and I'm standing at the doorway next to my mom watching my dad leave and not understanding why. Why wasn't I good enough for my dad to stay here? Why did he have to go? What was wrong with me? Why was Daddy leaving? For 6 years, my dad and I had that kind of weekend dad relationship. And when I was 10, well, he succumbed to his illnesses and afflictions and ended his life. And I asked myself those questions again. Why wasn't I good enough for my father to choose to stay alive? What was wrong with me? Okay, so fast forward. I'm a smart kid in school. I get into high school. I meet this older kid that's like, yeah, want to come to my house and smoke some weed? Oh, yeah, let's give that a try. So I went from being a good student, smart kid, and following this kid to his house to smoke some weed. Anyhow, you can see that I was making some bad decisions. Fast forward, 17 years old, just left high school, living this party lifestyle. I show up at a bank. I put on a collared shirt and a tie, and I got to be somebody else. I was talking with people who didn't know me. I could tell them any story I wanted. In fact, most of the people that would walk up to me and we'd get into conversation, they'd ask me, where'd you go to school? And they didn't mean high school, they meant college. Where did I go to college, or where was I going to college? And I was embarrassed. I was ashamed to say, actually, I dropped out of high school. My identity hadn't yet been formed. So within a year, I went from being a part-time teller to a full-time teller, and then being promoted to be a personal banker. So I'm 18 years old, I'm sitting at a desk across from people talking about their mortgages, student loans, financing cars, setting up retirement accounts. One of the things that I did in that space of time is I took all of the bank's contracts and agreements, the things that people would sign, I took them home and I read them at night. So when I showed up at work, I knew all of the details to our contractual agreements with our clients. There's people that were working around me that have been at the bank for 5, 10, 15 years that didn't know what I did only because I took these things home and I studied them on my own. I put in work after hours to be good at my work during hours. I also had 2 jobs. I worked at a bank and then I went to Subway and I made sandwiches, closed down the shop, mopped up, cleaned up, because I wanted to live on my own. I wanted to be an independent man. Well, then I got involved in meeting people and networking, and I was invited into some other circles within the bank, and other people started to notice me, and I got promoted again. So at 19 years old, I was asked to be an assistant manager of the bank branch that I was at. And my boss said to me really specifically, I think you're gonna be really good in this job. I have one concern. Everybody around you thinks that this is gonna go to your head. She was right. So I really had to learn to check myself and engage with people that I worked with that were twice my age or more. So I had to show humility. I had to learn humility, display humility. I had to be disciplined and hardworking to learn the things that made me competent in the job, but not show up with an ego. I had to learn how to ask people questions and be really genuinely curious about their life and about where they were going. Not so that I could sell them something, but so that I could understand if there was a solution we could provide that fit into where they were going, then we'd have a good fit. So I learned to study hard, listen well, be humble. I worked my ass off. I worked as much overtime as I could possibly get. I was there first, left last, took work home, studied, showed up, asked questions with humility, and I did all of this in a persona that I was developing. I began to study at the age of 19 what leadership was. And I looked at the importance of being a role model and the importance of creating a shared vision amongst the team. I learned what it is to challenge the process, not in a way that just pushes back on everything, but in a way that's constructive. There were mentors along the way, men who were older than me who had been there and done that I would learn from. And those mentors became critically important for my life. So a couple of those mentors are men who would push and they would challenge me and they would ask me questions and they would put me in a place of imagination, right? Creative. Where did I want to go in the world? And so I incorporated that into the course that I developed. What is your purpose? Where are you going? What's your vision for yourself? I wouldn't have been able to do that without mentors walking alongside. So it was here that my own notion, my own concept of leadership really started to take shape. And it's this simple. I say it this way. Leaders are neither just born nor built, but to lead, one must be chosen. The great mind in leadership, John Maxwell, would say, if you think you're leading but no one is following, well, you're just taking a walk. So I started asking the questions, well, what is it that inspires someone to choose to follow? Why did people follow me? Why did people choose to follow my lead? If I go back to those early days, it's because I worked hard. I listened well. I studied. If they asked me a question, I had an answer. If they said something, I listened and I stayed with them. So I'm at this place in my career journey where I actually just called the head of HR for the bank that I was working at. His name's Norm. He had this office way up in like the 30th floor of a big tower downtown and huge office. And I went and I said, Norm, do I need a college degree to be successful in this company? And he said, no, you don't. Here's what a college degree represents to us. That somebody's going to work hard, they're going to study, and they're going to listen well. So if there are two candidates applying for a job that we don't know and one has a degree and one doesn't, sure, we'll take the person over the degree. But if there's two candidates for a leadership position in our company and you have worked for us and demonstrated these things and this person hasn't, they have a degree and you don't, we're going to go with you. That was it. I didn't go to college. So throughout my career, I managed several branches, different offices, but I was selected as the guy to either go in and turn around an underperforming team or build something new. And there were 3 offices that I managed, 2 of which that were at the very bottom. So they would stack rank us. Here's the number 1 performing, here's the bottom. 2 of them I went in at the bottom and brought them to number 1. The things that I needed to do to be successful were really reliant on my team. And we had to build a vision to go in and take this scrappy team of people that really wanted to do well, but they hadn't done well. They didn't know how to do well. So I had to show them the vision of what it was to be successful and then convince them that we could do it. Now, I showed up and I said, I've done this before. That really helped. I know what it looks like. We can paint this vision together. Years and years and years, I looked at a lot of people and their bank accounts. Like, you come in to do a transaction, I look at your bank account, I see how much money you have or you don't have, or how much money you owe or whatever. The thing is that the people that had the most money also had the most real estate. So personally, I started investing in real estate when I was 20 years old. I took the test to become a licensed realtor when I was 21, just to go through and, like I said, work hard, study hard. I took the test, I passed the test, I never became a realtor. I just wanted to know. Bought my first home in my 20s and have bought several since in investment properties and run, either rentals or short-term rentals or long-term rentals and so forth. So the start there really came from knowing and understanding, like seeing the people who had made it and how they did it. And that was just a side benefit of the work that I was in. So listen, life has not always been rosy, right? I've experienced tragedy. I met a woman, fell in love, got married, started a family. 15 years into our relationship, she was taken from us. She was killed in an accident. We weren't prepared for it. From that, I developed a mantra in life that is make time to prepare for the time when there is no time. Because we were hit with tragedy, there was no time to prepare. So I decided that I would never be caught like that again. I would make time to prepare for a time when there is no time. I led my family through this as best I could, with as much communication as possible, creating space for my kids to have emotion and be where they were at. And I made a ton of mistakes. Made a lot of bad decisions because I wasn't prepared, but made it through that. And today I am the father of 4 beautiful children as the result of my marriage to Ariana. I'm now the father of daughters, something I never thought would happen. When Ariana and I met the first time, I was still in the valley, and I knew that we couldn't have a conversation beyond hi, how are you? Because I was broken, toxic, and she deserved better than that. We actually met a year and a half later after I had, this a lot of identity work, and we met again, and that started the beautiful outcome, our marriage today. So there's a lot there to unpack. What I'm saying is I've lived a good life. Really, I've lived the life that I imagined and dreamed, but it didn't come the way that I thought it would. And it hasn't always been puppy dogs and rainbows and lollipops. But with vision, with intention, with discipline, work hard, study hard, listen well, I made it through. So the current season of my life, I am a co-owner and CEO of a business consulting firm that started 20 years ago. The story is that I had started a consulting business after leaving the banking industry, and I had grown that a bit over a couple of years. I actually sold that business to my now business partner, and that's what brought me into this company that's been around for 20 years as an owner and CEO. We also connected on a vision for our company and for the future. Jeff started it, he grew it. I'm coming in to scale to new heights, new places, taking everything that I've learned from my corporate experience and bringing it in to this business to grow and scale. So if there's anything that I can tell you is that leaders are chosen. Leadership is not given. Leaders are formed by the people who follow them. And the other thing is that networking and mentorship is critical. You have to know people around you because those people, they help me advance to different stages in my career, and I wouldn't be the CEO of One Accord today if it wasn't for a network. So I hope that there's some lessons in here that are valuable to you as I've shared my story. And if they are, please, subscribe for more content. I try to upload content like this, a short every day. If you want to get connected, go ahead and leave some comments on any questions that you might have, and I will answer them. I might even make a video in response. If you're in a situation like I was in the beginning, maybe you're in an entry-level job, you're looking to switch career paths, I'm building this community for the next generation of leaders, and we call this the Prepare to Lead community. And inside that community, you'll get office hours with me where you can ask me questions one-on-one. We'll be running masterclass discussions on those 6 modules from my leadership course. And you also get free access to the course as a bonus, and just ongoing interaction and a chance to be in a network, which I said is so important, with other men who are on a similar mission. No matter where you're at now, you can have all those tools that you need to truly make it in the American economy. So if you want to find out more, click the link in the description, and we hope to see you in there.